MacVoices Live, wrapping up CES 2023. This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Rocket Money. Take full control of your subscriptions with Rocket Money at rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this MacVoices Live panel was recorded the week after CES ended, and therefore the topic of CES was high on our minds. It also was fresh in our minds, and so we decided to do a live wrap-up show. So we referenced the videos that are soon to come, which you've already seen now. They've already, all the CES videos have been released into the feeds, so you'll have a little different perspective on this. Let's go back and let the panel get to it. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're back. We took a week off because I and a few of my other panelists here were at CES in Las Vegas, but we are back now. So tonight we are going to talk CES, and we're going to talk a couple other things that are happening in the Apple space. First, it is Tuesday night. It's a little after 8 p.m. now by the time we got it running, but 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. If you're not watching us live, you should be on Tuesday nights. Please join us in the YouTube chat room at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We always have a lot of fun. We would love to have you here join us. We see friends already in the chat room, more coming, so you should be here. Let's go around the room, see who's here, and then we'll take it from there. First up, Mr. David Ginsburg, who was also at CES in Vegas. David, good to see you.
Good to see you. It was great to see you in person for the first time in almost 3 years. But we had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to our conversation about CES. It was an absolute blast, but glad to be back.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that you can participate too much in that conversation, and we'll talk about why in a minute. We'll go with that. Okay. Next up, we haven't seen much of him here on MacVoices Live, but I saw a lot of him in Vegas. My camera guy and Sherpa, and the one who bailed me out when necessary, Mr. Norbert Frassa is here. Norbert, it's great to see you. Didn't I just see you in Vegas?
Yeah, it was wonderful. You actually do have legs, so I was able to see you from the whole. Yeah, we had a good time running around and getting some tired feet at the end of the day, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Mr. Guy Serle is here, who apparently was not at CES, but he seems to be. He seems to be a fish fan of some kind.
Yeah, I am a Dolphins fan. They're going to get killed. They're going to get slaughtered by the Bills, but that's okay. They made it in. As far as CES goes, Chuck, just put me in your entourage and I'll be there next year. Now, you'll have to put up with the backlash of having me in your entourage. However, I will be there.
Well, you would be the same.
I've never been to Vegas. Can you believe that? I've never, ever, ever been to Vegas.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm still dumbfounded about that.
That's hard to believe.
You're not missing much.
I've been just about everywhere else, but Vegas was not one of them.
They wouldn't let you in, or what?
Yeah, they decided I was just a little too extreme for Las Vegas. So they have my picture up on the wall almost everywhere you go.
That's probably the first time anybody's ever said too extreme for Vegas.
Because it was extreme.
But I do want to point out Guy's attire. Guy, would you give us a tour of your attire?
Oh, sure. I've got my Dolphins hat. I've got my Dolphins long sleeve shirt, and one of my kids gave me a great Christmas present this year, which was Dolphins wireless earbuds. I don't know if you can see those. That they have the little Dolphins logo on them.
They convert all of the songs to chirps and whistles.
Yeah, and Jimmy Buffett. That's all you get.
Fins.
Yeah, as sung by Dolphins.
Yeah, it can be worse.
It kind of takes away a lot from Margaritaville, but what are you going to do?
Also with us joining a very wired Mr. Jim Ray. Jim, it's good to see you.
I could have more than one meeting, Chuck.
I know. That's why I said it. So
I was also in CES, but I just hung very far in the back.
Oh, well, you should have come up and said hello. We had no idea.
I hung like 280 miles back.
And that's pretty far back. It's good to see you. Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Jeff Gamet, who, while he wasn't in CES, did celebrate a birthday while the rest of us were, or some of us were there. Jeff, good to see you and happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. And yeah, it's weird doing birthdays that aren't at a conference, because that was my life for decades. And now here I am having to figure out how to do a birthday when I'm not at a conference. Chuck, I have to say, you're feisty tonight, and I'm liking it.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you what a week in Vegas will do for you.
I wouldn't know.
But I do think we should point out that Dave can only participate to a limited degree in this discussion because he was staying at a hotel where there was another conference going on.
That's what you were doing for me. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Would you like to elaborate
there's
just
another
a little bit?
Conference that happens around the same time
I can
as
elaborate.
CES?
I was going to say, I thought the other conference was CES.
No.
It was, yes, I was staying at, I was halfway. I was at Harrah's for 2 days, and then the remainder of my week I was at the Resorts World, which is the old Stardust. And yes, they were having the Adult Entertainment Expo at that said Resorts World, which I think they tend to have that conference purposely in sync with CES so they can kind of overlap. So needless to say, there was some interesting... I'm going to leave it at that. It was interesting.
I've never been to CES, but I thought they used to have lots of adult stuff at CES.
I think they did at one point.
At one point, but I think then
maybe they got kicked
AVN,
out. AVN,
which is
started this.
Yeah, well,
it's called AVN, so it's adult video
the Adult
network.
Entertainment Conference that actually was happening, and then CES overlapped it.
Oh, is that what it was?
And I believe that's Macworld's fault, because CES and Macworld kept jockeying to have that first big announcement. And so CES bumped way up early, which overlapped AEN. And then Macworld's like, and we're done. And CES is stuck for like 20 years or something with the slot that they have.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go to some of the panels that they were having at AES.
Okay. I'm biting my tongue because
you have to go to Las
we're not
Vegas.
in After Dark
we could
yet.
go After Dark very quickly.
I'm trying so hard to be good.
Oh, no pun intended.
Well, the only thing I can say is that, every morning we would, a bunch of us would get together for breakfast. And
yes.
Dave would show, when he was at Harrah's, he was showing up one time, no problem. And then it kept getting later and later when he moved over to Resorts World.
I did have to
we just
Uber.
didn't see him. Oh, is that it? Is that your story?
But he
I
should
did
have
have
put
to
a
Uber
smile on
over.
his face.
Instead of it being like 5 minutes, it was 10 minutes. I mean, come on.
Yeah, sure. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, the longer the better, some people say.
Yes, they do.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, but thanks for sharing that. And yes, it was an interesting entertainment, I should say, of viewing the folks that were walking the lobby. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll just leave it there.
We'll leave it there.
We'll just leave it there. But yeah, it was a great week. Obviously, folks that subscribe to MacVoices, later this week, we'll start to see some of the video interviews we shot, and we shot a bunch. Let's see. And so, what can I tell you? That it's impossible to cover. I mean, I think they said there were 3,200 exhibitors there.
I think it's like 3,100.
I don't know, spread across not just the Central Hall and North Hall and West Hall of the Convention Center, but also into the Sands Expo Center at the Venetian, and then in suites up and down the Strip. I mean, it's just an incredibly, incredibly big show. It's it's impossible to do it in 2 or 3 days if you were going to do it all. But we had a great time. Brittany Smith has arrived.
All of a sudden, the lady shows up and you start behaving yourselves. That's how it's going to go?
Well, no, we can misbehave if you wish.
Why would we do that?
I don't know. No, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it while I was getting ready and packing. I was listening to it live. So I missed that 30-second overlap.
I always behave. I just want to get that out there in the open.
You always behave exactly as you intend.
I thought the rest was implied.
So
I assume you mean my mic, Chuck.
Oh, yes.
I just corrected you there, so I had to throw mine right there.
Okay.
Britt, you're hot.
Yeah, Britt, I put in the chat, folks, Britt, you're hot, meaning her microphone was overdriving, was hot. And so...
Are you sure? Are you sure that's what you meant?
But hey, if the shoe fits, Brittany,
oh my gosh.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. That's much better. So I promised at the top of the show I would share my story.
You have to,
because I called Dave out. So I love packing cubes because packing cubes keep everything organized, right? So everything goes in a packing cube, and then the packing cubes go in my suitcase. So checked my luggage in Baltimore, got my luggage in Vegas. There was a note that it had been inspected by the TSA, which really was kind of no big surprise because I usually carry at least one tripod in the checked luggage, simply because they're too big for the carry-on luggage, and I can understand how going through a scanner they might look like a gun barrel. So it's never a real surprise on these kind of trips when I have that. So I unpacked in Vegas. And I'm laying everything out, and I've got pants, got shirts, got socks, got my shoes. Where's the packing cube that has my underwear in it? Went back and looked everywhere. I got to Vegas with no underwear. So,
oh no,
Jeff, go right ahead. I'm waiting for it.
Oh.
I'm waiting for it. So, so the only thing I can either intentionally or unintentionally, Jeff is now falling on the floor. Either intentionally or unintentionally, somebody took my packing cube full of my underwear out, and I had to go shopping in Vegas. And let me tell you, shopping in Vegas for underwear is not cheap.
I was going to say, that's probably like one of the few things that would be very difficult to find in Vegas.
Oh, you can find it. It's just a matter of, do you want the elephant trunk or the giraffe?
When you get home, is that thing from Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other.
I tell you what, Chuck has the best glitter ass we've ever seen.
Oh
my gosh.
Oh. So
anyway, this is going to be all after dark then, isn't it?
Well, no, but this, I didn't want to, Barry in the chat room says TSA stole Chuck's underwear. You must have some really nice underpants. Yeah, well, what can I tell you? It's
the high silk content that must have done it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they just feel dreamy.
They do.
Yeah. So I tell you. So anyway, that's enough of the travel stories and the circumstance
so you
stories.
didn't just go commando?
No.
He did the majority of the interviews commando.
Thank you, Norbert.
Oh, there you go, Norbert.
And if anybody would know,
I'm going to change the orientation of the videos from now on.
I think you need to elaborate on what you mean.
I don't think I need to. Brittany, please help me.
Oh, I'm Jeff. What use of orientation are you meaning?
Oh my gosh!
I was meaning that I would zoom in on the top half and never mind.
The top half of what?
What?
That's enough to change anybody's orientation.
I had to use a wide lens.
Brittany, I thought you said that we were behaving when you came in.
With a soft focus.
You backslid. What can I say?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, What conference are we talking about again?
Yeah, really. So I'll turn to Norbert and Dave, and try to put CES in perspective from what they saw. I mean, Dave, I know you were bouncing around a little bit.
Yep.
But what was your impression overall of what you saw?
Well, for sure, everybody's back. It was just mass people. I mean, we started off at CES Unveiled and went into that first conference of the trends presentation, and I was just blown away. I didn't expect it would be that packed of people, and so people were really itching to come back to the conference. It was long overdue. I liked how everything was laid out. I mean, again, like you said, it's impossible to see everything. There's just no way. Going to the main expo as well as out to the convention center was just overwhelming. There's just a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff to see. But overall, as far as products and seeing everything that was there, I mean, technology as that show's always been just some really cool stuff. A lot of good vendors. The vendors were very friendly, receptive to our interviews and being able to talk to us. And so I think that itself was my impression. And then just and of course, hanging out with you guys is always the good thing. Since we're among friends too, we got to have some nice dinners and have some breakfasts and then hit the show, and that's what just makes the week go by too fast. We just had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's nice to do that. I mean, and I know it's great to meet new people and all, but it's also good for a show this large to have that review time in the mornings or in the evenings to say what did you see this, because most of the time a lot of us were going to different halls or different parts of halls. And so, it gave you just a little wider perspective. What did you see? What did I see that you should go see? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and we all share information, which is also a fun thing because everybody has a different perspective, and then you get ideas.
Yeah, Norbert, how about you? You were following me around a lot, so we saw a lot of the same things. But in looking at some of the photos you took that you shared with me, you saw a lot of things I didn't, just because I was hanging out on camera and you were a little freer to look around.
Yeah, I would have to second Dave's comments. It was back to normal. I know that the official numbers say that it was slightly less participants than CES 2020, but it felt just the same type of energy, same type of movement. I was a little concerned that there was going to be some health issues. Nobody, not even a concern. Everybody was back to normal, hugging and having a good time. It was, there's basically everywhere you look, there's something at the very beginning of walking onto the show floor. It's just too much information at the same time. It's information overload where you're just looking to the left or the right, and you're just awed at every corner. It was just back to normal, as if we didn't skip a beat.
You brought up something I hadn't really thought about, but you're right. There was no one who hesitated to shake hands. If you knew people, there was nobody that you couldn't go up and give a hug to. There was no hesitancy about any of that. There were a few people wearing masks, and there were a few some attendees wearing masks, but not a lot. And so, you respect their choices.
Yeah.
So, one observation I wanted to throw out, though, and I was thinking about past CESs in comparison to this one. One year there was, I will call it a drone CES, where just drones were everywhere, and that's sort of okay. Yeah, Jeff. And so it's like each year there's a hot technology that just seems to be everywhere. This year, for me. And we didn't talk to anybody, I don't think, that was doing it, just because there were so many. It was AR, VR goggles. They were just everywhere. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, next year or going into the future, if this is something that's still developing, or if this was sort of the peak when everybody's trying to tout their AR, VR system, or offerings as the thing to have.
I was impressed with the amount of car and auto, the increase of the auto footprint at the show was just tremendous. It used to be stashed up in the North Hall, and now it has a hall to itself in West Hall. It was just amazing. I could just spend the entire 4 days in that one hall looking at auto tech. Auto tech was just huge, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. I popped into the West Hall and saw some of that, and it was just really impressive. Stellantis, who's one of the big automaker companies, the CEO did a keynote, and they were talking about their new Ram EV truck that just was just a phenomenal electric genius of electric vehicles, and then that's where everything's going. It's just really super interesting, and with John Deere and Caterpillar also there in the farming and construction, they were showing off a lot of their stuff too. So it was pretty phenomenal. I mean, to have that whole West Hall was all automotive. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, we've talked to John Deere in the past when they had a piece of massive equipment there. This year they had a huge sprayer that I'm afraid I will overstate it. So Norbert, how far would you say? What would you say the spread was, tip to tip?
It's got to be at least 30 yards. It was enormous.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah. But Caterpillar took the prize because Norbert and I both we took each other's pictures standing in front of the tire of this massive piece of equipment. Yeah. The tire was like 1.5 to 2 feet taller than either one of us. That's the tire, not the whole thing. It's just staggering. So, yes, I'm looking forward to publishing, going back, reviewing, and listening to all the interviews again as I edit them, but also getting them out to you because there are a lot of good stuff. We should tell everyone, that CES is too tempting. We try to keep with a Mac focus or at least an Apple focus and an Apple adjacent focus. Sometimes there's just tech there that's just too good not to talk to and not to talk about and get an interview with. So hopefully it will expand your horizons a little bit with some of the people we talk to, but also give you some really good practical information on products that are either available now, just introduced, or are coming in the next few months. The last thing I would throw out is that we also spent, in fact, after Norbert had to leave, I spent a little more time in Eureka Park, which is the real startup area. The booths
kind of like Tinytown used to be.
Yeah, only a lot more intense. From a what's the word I want, Norbert? I guess from a density standpoint, it's just you have row after row after row of something that a booth that is about the size or width, I should say, of a conference room table, and you have people in there trying to show things.
Yeah, definitely an increase in vendors per square inch in that little area there.
Yeah. And this year, we didn't spend quite as much time there because 2020, it was like every other booth was something really cool and really interesting. This year, it was not quite that because there was so much AR, VR, and that kind of thing that you almost just were completely overwhelmed because there wasn't a lot of distinguishing other than just people saying we've got the best or we've got something new. There was not a lot of objective information available that would cause you to go to, stall 1 instead of stall 6. So we sort of skipped over that part. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check or triple check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and can cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. No matter how careful I am with my subscriptions, there are always a few that slip through. a free trial that I forgot about, a service I no longer want or need, and then I find the charge on my credit card and I'm angry with myself that I wasted that money. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. That's rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Rocket Money for supporting today's edition of Mac Voices. Jeff, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were going to ask a question.
Oh, I remember now. It was not a question, observation about the whole AR thing. My guess is that this was the big year. There will be a bunch of AR stuff next year, but it probably not like this year. And I'm saying that just based on experience. Like every year you go to CES and it's 1 year or 2 years where there's the thing and then it's immediately the next thing. And this year being the AR year does not surprise me at all. And next year would not surprise me if it's something different. Do you remember the personal robot year?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was like 2018 or something.
So the themes for the year are always the most ridiculous ones to be mainstream the following year, right?
Well, not always. 1 year it was it was 3D TV. Everybody was talking about having
my 3D TV.
And then it's like, well, yeah, it's great, but nobody's making that content for it.
Well,
and
except it wasn't
AR,
great.
VR has kind of like the same stigma. You can have the best hardware in the world, but if you don't have decent content to use it with, then there's not really that much point.
Well, okay. Part of the problem with AR, there were a lot of problems with it. With 3D TV, and there were a lot of problems with 3D TV. But one of the big problems was there's no standardization, and it became a completely isolated experience, which was the opposite of what a lot of the vendors were promoting. It's like, get all your friends together and watch a 3D TV movie together, but you're all putting a thing on your face and you're in your own little world.
You're isolated. Yep.
And every television had its own format, so you had to have different glasses for each one. And each content creator was making 3D content in their own way, which made it compatible with only a very small number of televisions. And I think we're in the same spot with AR right now. And it's every AR company, they have their own thing. And so if you want to make something that works correctly for each platform, now you're basically making a new thing for each platform, and it becomes an isolated experience again, just like 3D television. So now you have to figure out, how do you pitch that to be enticing to a large audience when part of the experience is to create isolation?
The one other thing that I felt like didn't receive a lot of billing, but it seemed to come up in so many of the conversations, was AI or machine learning, and especially machine learning. The number of devices that are integrating machine learning in some way, in one form or another, is pretty darn interesting. And I feel like, I don't feel like it was hyped this year. It just was sort of there. And I don't think it's going to, I don't know that it's going to be one of those things that does get hyped, because it's not really a product category in itself. It just can enhance so many things.
I have a question for you, Chuck.
Yeah.
So how are they presenting it? Just like, here's our product and we're using AI for this part, or was it, here's our product and it has AI?
So I'll give you an example. We saw a bird feeder, okay? Mm-hmm. Typical bird feeder with basically a camera on top of it and solar panels to keep the camera running. But it had AI to determine what kind of bird you were looking at. And you're able to collect little trophies of what birds you had. And the AI is analyzing the bird off the pictures and giving you an album of the birds that came to visit your bird feeder. So that's similar to what other vendors were trying to do.
Okay.
That was how I was incorporated into a bird feeder.
Okay, that's different from previous years. When I was still going to CES, the whole AI thing was really ramping up, and at other conferences I've been at since then, AI, of course, is ramping up. And AI was not presented as a useful element in the product, like the bird feeder, being able to identify birds and tell you, hey, these are the types of birds that you're feeding. It was more of, here's this product, and it has machine learning and AI. And that was like this bell and whistle thing where they weren't able to articulate an actual value in that technology. It's just they felt it needed to be there because that's what people were expecting to see. So seeing
buzzwords.
that yes, exactly, buzzwords. So seeing the transition from, and it has AI as a bell and whistle, to here's how we're using AI technology to make this product more useful and engaging for consumers.
And Jeff, that's exactly what it was. I'm also thinking of Luminar Neo, the photo retouching program, where that's using AI to give you better pictures, with one button, or to give you more capabilities that you would have had to study for probably quite some time to get in Photoshop, are now available on a slider or a button. So those are the kind of things. There are a couple others that are escaping me right now. I know at least we talked to a couple of golf companies because golf, and they were incorporating AI into some of their devices for swing analysis, and pieces of equipment that up till now you would have had to spend several $1,000s on. Now you can do at least some of it with an iPhone. Now I'm anxious to get my hands on that and play with it a little bit and compare it to some of what the other technology I've been used to. But I don't care if it performs only half as well. It's using my iPhone, so I'm going to invest in a small price in an app, and then have this phenomenal capability to analyze my swing. Those are the kind of things that, it was not like, oh my God, yes, AI is it. It was just like, we're using AI and this is the result. This is what it can do for us.
That actually makes me happy, because before it was presented as a useless bauble.
Well, there are a lot of things that are presented as useless baubles.
True, but this was like over the top.
Well, you see a lot of press releases now with new companies, and sometimes, old companies throwing AI and machine learning into their literature simply to attract investors. And I find it interesting that this is happening at the same time that crypto is basically collapsing. So it's almost like they're trying to find the next market that investors can throw money at, and companies are not so much taking advantage of it, but they're using it in such a way to attract those investors.
Maybe so, Guy. That's, I can't say you're necessarily wrong, but it just felt like with the machine learning and the AI stuff that you're actually seeing some results. You're seeing some things that you felt like couldn't have been done 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're being done, and they're being done, like I said, in an iPhone or something, along those in that category.
But is it AI or is it just machine learning? Is it something that is doing by route?
I guess that would depend on which product we're talking about, and how it's presented. I mean, I don't know. Norbert, Dave, did you feel like the two terms were slightly interchangeable at this point?
kind of, sort of interchangeable a little bit. The one product that kind of stood out in my mind was the from Smarter. I think we saw that at the Showstoppers, and that was that fridge cam, and using that deep learning computer vision tool by having a webcam that's a fridge cam inside the refrigerator, and being able to scan all the food that's in there and be able to go into an app on your iPhone and be able to say, hey, this is the products you have in your fridge. You can make this and put together this menu and this. And that kind of was, I don't know, as much of an AI as an example. I kind of thought that was something that was that, but it was different. I don't know, what do you think, Norbert, as far as what you saw?
Another one that was really interesting that really called out to me was when we were doing the dash cam by a company called Nextbase. Mm-hmm. And they have the camera and it's analyzing everything that is going around you. And once the video goes out, on the feed, you'll be able to get a little bit of a taste, but it's looking at, pedestrians walking around you. It's giving you the miles per hour of cars that are traveling around you. It almost felt like the Terminator, where they have the screen and it's analyzing everything as it's going around you and trying to figure things out. I thought that was, an impressive use of computer hardware, AI for lack of a better word. It was just impressive.
Yeah, it was.
And a little creepy.
Yeah. Well, you start to think that, we have the potential to get to the technological future that we've seen in science fiction. Pick your science fiction.
I was going to say, do we really want to go Terminator science fiction here when we're talking about machine language and artificial intelligence? I don't think Schwarzenegger and the Terminator is where we want to go with that.
Well, I agree with that, but I was thinking, leave it to you, Guy, to go down the violent path.
It's my nature.
Wait, violence is your nature? I thought microphones were your nature.
That's also my nature. Violent microphones.
Violent microphones. Yes. Yeah. Have you seen what he does to a microphone?
Yeah. See, that's going to be the next big thing at CES, violent microphones.
I do feel like I have to roll a grenade in the room and watch everybody explode. But Norbert and
now we're back to the adult entertainment.
No, not that.
It started with Norbert and I and had an ellipsis at the end.
Norbert and I think Dave did too. We had the opportunity to take Elon Musk's loop from one conference center hall over to the other, and in fact, we took it from South Station the whole way over to West, and it just works. Interesting conversation. And Norbert, I can't remember if you were with me because I took it once or twice after you left, but the one driver said that they were estimating that the loop was moving 32,000 people each day at the conference.
Yeah.
So Elon invented a subway.
Well, yeah, but it's a subway, Jeff, that, Norbert, what did we wait?
It's like
2 minutes?
On-demand subway.
Okay. Yeah, so single car subway.
It's a personal subway and it doesn't smell like pee. So
yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Well, it was Vegas, so give it time.
I went from the Resorts World to the convention center, using that part of the Vegas loop, and you have all it's very efficient. It's not that expensive. Was $4.50? You get to use it all day long, and you jump into one of the Teslas. The one I got into one of the Model X Teslas, which is the doors go up in a V but interestingly enough, it's 2 minutes, and you only go 25 miles an hour. So in a tunnel.
But that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it would have taken you 30, 35, 40 minutes.
Oh, easy.
To do that at least. And, to go from West Hall over to South Hall, that's another good 35-minute walk at a pretty brisk pace. So at least, I guess depending on how you would go, but yeah. And Norbert, what did we wait? 2 minutes at any given time?
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
No, they were quick.
It wasn't very much at all. And if you stay in the convention center, it was free for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they probably did charge going over to Resorts World.
Yeah, Resorts World they did. Yeah, God was over there.
Yeah. Brian says, based on your use of the loop in Vegas, do you see that being viable in other municipalities in the U.S.? Brian, that's a great question, and I don't know. Now, we want to be fair here. The Teslas that were running were manned. There were drivers. They were not autonomous. And I think that there are a dozen different reasons for that at this point. But yeah, I mean, if it were to become autonomous, absolutely. I honestly, I think they said they had 70 cars in the tunnels at any given moment. So, and you can take 3 to 4 people per car. So you can do the math.
Did he make those with the boring company?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those tunnels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, they have some of the big boring heads on display outside, because they've obviously been used up.
So Elon's on display?
No, just parts of him.
Oh, his elephant was in Resorts World, so.
But only at Dave's hotel.
Well, here's the weird thing. He's been in.
Boy, Brittany,
he's been in talks.
I've missed this, guys.
With Fort Lauderdale, of all places, to build a tunnel from downtown to the beach. And anyone who's spent any time in Florida knows that your water table is about 24 inches. So
I was about to ask about that.
Yeah, I would be really, really curious to see, how do you dig a tunnel that has to be that deep so that it doesn't interfere with existing infrastructure that's around there when your water table is so high? And I remember reading the stories about it and then didn't hear anything else. But the Fort Lauderdale politicians, surprise, surprise, were ecstatic. They were like, "Oh yeah, come on, build these tunnels that go into the swamp. Yeah, we love it."
What could possibly go wrong?
What could go wrong?
I don't know, but I mean, look, in this implementation, they absolutely work.
Sure. And, Las Vegas or Nevada in general is probably a wonderful place to build long tunnels because there's not much that's going to be in your way underneath. But a place like Fort Lauderdale or Washington, D.C. or places that have a relatively high water table, you need a little more planning than just paying off some local politicians, he said cynically.
Yeah.
Well, Vegas, I think, is a good place, just generally speaking, for something like like Elon's loop, whatever thing, because Vegas is all about spectacle anyhow. So if you're going to have a place where Elon can reinvent the subway or discover the subway and have people accept it, not just call him an idiot for thinking he's brilliant for creating a subway, Vegas is a really good place to do it because the flash and the glitz totally works there. So yeah, it's definitely a smart place for Elon's loop.
Plus, Vegas is pretty linear, and it's also super high density housing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the plans, as I understand it, the plans are next to take it out to the airport. And that'll be very interesting to see, just how efficient that can become. And
good luck with that. I mean, there's a reason the monorail never went to the airport, and that was because of the taxi lobby.
Right.
They shut it down. And if your lobby has enough strength to stop something, to stop something as obviously useful as the monorail to the airport, good luck getting Elon's tunnels out to the airport.
Yeah, but you know what, Jeff? I think that maybe somehow we're doing Las Vegas city planning here, but I think that the taxi lobbies don't have the strength they used to be because because of Uber and Lyft now. I mean, they finally had some competition, and people preferred the competition over the taxis. And so, and that was, that's another thing that it has nothing to do with CES, but slowly but surely, the pickup points for Uber and Lyft are becoming more accessible and better than, having to, for the most part, than having to walk, 2 miles to get to them. Now, I know David Resorts World had, he had that issue.
Well, then I found a trick that the drivers told me, as well as at the hotel. All I had to do was put in the notes, pick me up at the front entrance of the Hilton, because that's where I was staying, and they came and picked me up there. I didn't have to go to the official pickup.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yes.
so there you go. But I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I want it because it would be so great. Exactly how it would work, because obviously you're not going to be able to drop off at each hotel. So you're going to have to go to a station, from the airport into Vegas, and then take some sort of
and then get an Uber from there.
Yeah, surface transportation, but it's bound to be cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
what I think would be deliciously ironic is if the taxi lobby and Uber and Lyft teamed up to stop the tunnel from happening.
That would be funny. They have enough conflict between between each other that let alone go after the tunnel.
Yeah. Hey, I want to welcome Mark Fuccio, who has apparently gotten power and connectivity back. Mark, it's good to have you. I'm glad you made it.
It's raining out here, and we've had power most of the day. And I remember back, I think it was 2 years ago, on a holiday gift guide, I recommended a Generac whole home backup generator. Everyone was shocked at the price. It may have been the highest that season, if not on MacVoice gift show ever. But we got one, and it's proven useful. We've used it 3 times in the past couple weeks, and or past 10 days rather. And now it's been running since about 3 or 3:30 last night. And PG&E sent out an advisory that they expect to have power set up around 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So good on PG&E and Charter, our internet provider. It was out, it came up, and then went out in late afternoon, and now it's back again. So we're now fully, alive and
cooking with
and
gas,
warm and comfortable.
Well, that's great. I'm
waiting
sorry,
for that next rain to come bashing in tomorrow.
Yeah, because let's see, Norbert and Jim and Mark are all in California, and I just hope you guys all aren't being too negatively affected, because some of the video you saw on the news tonight was just staggering. So
there was a lot of rain.
This panel is back in the next edition of MacVoices to finish up our discussion of CES 2023 and also take a broader look at the products that are exhibited there and why that may or may not be appropriate. We also touch on Apple's use of AI to read audiobooks. That's next time on MacVoices. We'll see you then. I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.